All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I'm here with a guest who has not been on the show in a very long time. You were actually one of our first guests on when the podcast sort of became a guest thing, where we had interviews with people. You were one of our first guests way back in I think it was 2013 or 14. So it's been a while, and I think the best way to start this off is just for you to introduce yourself and give a bit of background about what it is you do with your music.
Thank you for having me. God bless you. My name is Damon Ainsley Purdy. You can call me Ripping Hammer. Sagittarius Sun, Capricorn Moon, Scorpio Rising. Enneagram 4, Wing 5, INFJ.
It's very detailed.
Well, I'm like to be thorough, and I like to make music sometimes. I'm a dabbler.
Cool. And I guess Ripping Hammer is what we're talking about here. Back when you were first on the show, you had just released this album under the name Ripping Hammer, and I didn't even know you were making music at the time, and it was awesome. And everyone who was involved in doing the show at that point, before it was just me, we were all really into the record, and it was super cool. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, here you pop up, a decade and a bit later with this new Ripping Hammer album. So what is the origin of this whole thing? It seems like there's been like a very long period of time between releases. Is that accurate, or have you been making stuff the whole time and just not putting it out publicly?
Well, that's a great question. Before I answer that question, I just got to say Bicycle Face forever.
Yeah, great band.
Give respect to the Quiffs. Give respect to Alien Hybrid, who set the template for everything.
Definitely.
Milt Homely has a great record out. You should check it out.
Yeah, I had him on recently.
Packers, yeah, great record. And Okanagan Packers, I know you have a record in you. Just release it, let go, or be dragged. To answer your question, I guess time is fake. You know how you're just like on your phone and you're scrolling, and then like all of a sudden it's 12 years later. Like that's kind of how it is. I'm a dabbler, so it takes me a while to do things. I'm always recording. I'm always making stuff, but I guess like finishing and releasing and moreover marketing. I think marketing should be illegal. Just all marketing is tough for me. It doesn't come natural. So right. Yeah. So that's kind of a couple reasons.
So is this actually your first release since that previous one? Like it's been 12 years or so?
This is my third release overall. I release an album every decade. It's like a diary entry. I give it to I just like give it to my friends and like whoever if you know, the first one came out on CDR like 20 years ago. I just gave it to people because that's what, burning CDs was fun. It felt like, kind of punk rock, 2012. You remember that time? Like music blogs were like the thing. That's how you like release music through blogs. So, all right, give it to Sam. He's got a music blog. And this third one, I just decided tape because I feel like society is about to collapse and we need physical artifacts that are going to endure. And yeah.
Well, I was very excited to get a copy of the tape in the mailbox. That was really cool. How do you define what this is? I mean, Ripping Hammer, just in listening to the two different ones that I've heard anyway, they're very different. I mean, there's some similarities for sure in the sound, but I mean, the first one, or I guess the second one was a lot more almost melodic. It almost seemed more structured, whereas this one seems more experimental and more kind of it just more weird in a good way. What do you call the type of music you're making with this project?
Sorry, you glitched right when you said that. I think you asked me to define it.
I did, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I have a really hard time because like you name it, you tame it, right? Like I kind of like strive to be my own genre, I guess. You know how like Weird Al is his own genre?
Yes.
I kind of I want to be Weirdest Al, I guess, and just like my own genre. So it's like hard to define it. I guess this one probably has more synths on it. Yeah. That's probably like a big difference. Like formally, I guess, like I think the feelings kind of came from the same sort of place.
Yeah. Well, I guess that was sort of maybe a better way of approaching the question is what are you using to create this? Because I mean, it does sound more electronic, and that's obviously I'm guessing it's the synth element there that comes across pretty strongly. But how are you making this record? What are you playing on it?
I guess I primarily used an Arturia Microbrute. There's a Yamaha keyboard on there. There's a little bit of microKORG. There's this like voice otter like thing that I made at like a workshop.
Oh, cool.
Um, there's like a Roland voice changer. There's, I don't know, there's just like all this random stuff I just buy and then I like sell. If anybody wants to buy my microboot, you can have it. I'm selling it. Just because I kind of like this idea. Like I read like an interview with Tom Waits once where he was like, I purposefully try not to know how to like play what is in front of me because it's like more interesting that way. Yeah,
Yeah.
you like there's more detours, like more like fuck ups and that kind of stuff. So yeah, like this one is just like I guess more synths because I felt like it, I guess. I don't know. I just got like guitar hurts my fingers. And like I never like really like learned how to play it very well. I can like only kind of do like bar chords and stuff. So
Yeah.
like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm again being a dabbler. I'm not a musician in any sort of way.
I like that approach though of just sort of learning something just enough to be able to play it passably
Yeah.
and come up with some kind of sound out of it, and then move on to the next thing. I think it's a good strategy.
Yeah, thank you.
I wish more people would do that. Actually, a lot of people are so focused on the technical aspects of mastering something, and that's great. I mean, when you hear someone who's an absolute wizard at whatever instrument, it's always
Yeah.
exciting. But I mean, I think that more people should take the approach of everything is temporary. Just put something out, whatever it is, and then move on to something completely different. We don't have enough of that.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess I'm doing my part. I live to serve. So yeah, like, yeah, no, like it, and even like you've made music before, Sam. Good
Yes.
music. Yeah, and
Well, I
like
mean
it
that's
doesn't.
questionable, but yeah.
Okay, well, man. Okay, I'm trying to give you a compliment, man. Are you bad with compliments? Like,
Yeah. Okay,
some
I've made
people are
music
very,
before. Yeah, yeah.
some people are very bad with compliments. Okay, like it doesn't matter like how well you know it too. Like I kind of feel like when you like play something, it just sounds good to you. Like you almost don't even know where it came from. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It just like seems like kind of like did I just do that? Like where did that like come from? So it's like I don't know. It's just like kind of more being in tune with your creative self or whatever that is than like mastering shredding or whatever. But
Yeah.
there's a place for shredding, but that's not for me,
For sure.
yeah.
And in those moments,
Mhm.
I guess you want to have those recorded as much as you can, right? You want to just hopefully out of all the things you're messing around with, one or two of those really kind of not triumphant moments, but like these things that are just really do
Sure.
what you're trying to do out of it. It's so with that in mind, like are you recording sort of all of these experiments you're doing and just sort of figuring out what works, or like how are these structured? How are these pieces of music structured?
I don't know. I guess I just like record stuff, and then if I listen back to it and like it starts to speak to me in like some kind of way, like it has a conversation, say, hey, I need something else. I'm like, okay, well, again, I'll give you something. Then it says like, yo, I need something else again. I'm like, yeah, well, okay, I guess. And then when like it's done and the conversation is like kind of finished, then I know it's over.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, it's just like kind of, yeah, it's a bit of a process for sure. Yeah. Um, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, well, like you have this tape out now, and like you said as well, it's a physical release. It's something that's kind of tangible out in the world, and tapes are having a comeback, which is great to see. As someone who never stopped listening to them, I always appreciate getting new tapes. But what is the like where can you where do you take this now that it's out, because you have this long period between releases, you're doing this all by yourself. I assume that limits your ability to play shows even if you wanted to. So what's sort of the goal with this? Is it just this is out now and then 20 years later episode 4 comes out, or what's the plan?
The goal of Sam Thompson is to heal the world.
Okay.
And music and art and creativity is a vessel for healing. And in my own little way, it helps me. And if I run into somebody and I give them my stupid little tape that I made and they listen to it and they're like, hey, that's weird, maybe I can make something weird too. Like I'll have done my job, such as it is, like I don't really have any sort of upward mobility or like plan or anything like that. I probably will do another one in 10 years. Like I say, they're kind of like diary entries. So in
Yeah.
about 10 years, I'll like whatever is going on in 10 years, like I'll put it out through there and, yeah. But I guess I'm like kind of operating without some sort of intentionality.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you said the diary entry thing a couple times now, and how much of, I mean, how much of what you're expressing on these tapes is actually something personal, like coming from you? Because like the idea of a diary entry is obviously to sort of pour your personal shit onto a page, and in this case onto a
Yes.
recording.
Yes.
um I think it's very maybe difficult to find that just in listening to it to know what it's about, know what you're putting into these songs, and it's being sort of filtered into the Ripping Hammer sound. But yeah, how much of these how much of this music is actually stuff that you're trying to get out, like on a personal level?
Yeah, I'm of two minds of that because yeah, my wife says the same thing. She's like, this doesn't sound personal at all. But like, I mean, like I made all of it. Like it didn't come from anything else, right? So and like when I hear a song, I can picture the room that I was in when like I made that part. Like I can picture what I was using, like how I was sitting,
Yeah,
like, and it just kind of takes me back. There's stuff on here that was recorded maybe a decade ago. There's stuff on here that was recorded 5 years ago, a week ago, and like all of that are just kind of like little layers of sediment that have like kind of built up in my life, and it feels perfect in a way, even if like it's not like a confessional singer songwriter
yeah,
sort of thing, and there's like layers of abstraction and like that kind of stuff. It feels personal, but at the same time, like I kind of feel like there's this like Romanian joyful nihilist philosopher Emil Chorin who says, I've invented nothing, I've simply been the secretary of my sensations. And I kind of feel like that as well. Like it just like it doesn't it doesn't come from me in some sort of way. It just like kind of happens if you let it and you get in tune with it, right? So
yeah.
yeah, so to me it is personal, but I could understand how you could listen to it and say, this, I don't even know what this is about.
Yeah. But that's not always
Yeah,
what you need to get out of
yeah,
music, too, right? I mean, I listen to lots
yeah,
of stuff. I have no idea what the hell's going on with it, but I like it.
yeah,
It's something I can listen to something that's completely atonal noise for an hour, and I
oh
enjoy
yeah,
something about it, right? So there's always, yeah,
yeah.
even if it's not kind of spelled out directly, word for word what's going on with the person making it. There's still you can get vibes off it.
Yeah, and like, yeah, of course. And like I guess in like the great tradition of divorce albums like Dylan's Blood on the Tracks and John Prine's Who's Gonna Take the Garbage Out Now. This would be a divorce album. I went through all kinds of stuff in the 12 years that I made this. So it takes me back to like some of that too.
Yeah,
And maybe that's why it like took a little bit longer too. I find like the best art comes from, well, any art, for in my experience, like positions of like comfort and like positions of like security. And like I know like people have this idea that you have to like be like super fucked up and like in this dangerous place to like make interesting art and stuff like that, but I find it's like kind of hard to do. So like it's personal in that way as well, for sure. Like it's like a marker of the last 10 years of my life. And the
yeah.
next one will be the marker of the next 10 years of my life, and it's a way of like, you know reminding myself that I exist or something, I guess, or if
Or
I
reminding
exist.
other people you exist because you're suddenly there's a new Ripping Hammer release, and it's like, oh yeah, how's that guy
That's
doing? I should call him up.
well, yeah, well, yeah, and again, thank you for it. But like, yeah, like I kind of just do it. I do it for me, and like I appreciate. I don't have like contempt for anybody who would listen. Like I love it. That's great. That's amazing. But like, whether people listen or not, like it is kind of beside the point to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With the sort of long time
yeah,
frame, you mentioned a couple of minutes ago too that these are some of these recordings are from 10 years ago and 5 years
yeah.
ago and so on. Do you feel like there's a sort of cohesiveness to all of these different pieces of music from different eras of your life over the past decade and a bit? Like, do they? I think as a listener, it flows pretty well. I mean, I wouldn't have known unless you told me that these were from vastly different eras of time. But did you like? Is that something you did deliberately, or did they just end up working that way, where they kind of flow into each other well?
Um, Man, thank you for listening. I love that. Like, I guess like I try to do different type songs. Like I try to do like, this song is going to be fucking 5 minutes long. I'm going
Yeah,
to like have three outros, because who doesn't love like a third outro? And like, I can't do it. Like every song comes out a minute and a half. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if I just like get bored or like, this is just the way that I make music, but I feel like there's a formal aspect to the music that I make that I just can't, like a little prison that I'm operating in, like that's like, I make these short songs. There's like kind of some stuff happens and then it's over, and then the next stuff happens and then it's over, and then all of a sudden your life is over and you die.
that's a good metaphor for life, I guess. Yeah, it's a bunch of short songs and then
Yeah.
then it ends. Yeah, yeah. Is there I mean, do you think that you're sort of forced, not intentionally, but just like subconsciously forced into putting these things into short songs? Like, I guess why do they need to be songs versus, and this is maybe a question that's way too big
Oh
for
wow.
this, but why do they have to be short pieces? What, I mean, what's stopping it from being one song? I mean, in listening to it, I mean, I'm listening on the tape, so I'm listening to it start to finish. Other people, depending on where they're hearing it, they might be doing it a little differently. But I mean, to me, I think it works each side as a single piece of music. And maybe I wasn't listening hard enough to notice the sort of breaks, but I felt like it flowed a lot. And do you think that you're just sort of by convention separating it into individual songs, or what?
You know, that's a yeah, you're right. That is a very big question. I was expecting some softballs here. Um, yeah, like a minute and a half just seems like enough. Like if something repeats like a couple times and nothing changes, like I'm like, why? Like, what are we doing here? Let's go. You know, like I'm like, don't bore us. Get to the chorus.
Sure,
Like
yeah.
I'm kind of inspired by like, oh man, I don't even know if we're supposed to reference him anymore. But Michael Jackson said once that, like he only writes choruses, like his verses are choruses and his choruses are just like better choruses. And
Okay.
I like that idea. You're just like always going for the neck. Kate Bush was like that too, just like really whew, like just coming at you all the time. And I kind of like that aspect in art. That's
Yeah.
kind of like intense. Even if the sound isn't intense, there's an intensity to it. Maybe as I get older and I get more microplastics in my brain and I just like start getting like worse at everything, maybe like my music will get slower and more atonal. Like who knows what God's plan is for me, but
Yeah.
it's a possibility,
Well,
yeah.
everyone all the listeners will have microplastics in their brain as well, so it's not gonna, it's not like you'll be the only
Oh
one.
hell yeah. Oh, that's true actually. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
But I
um
mean, kind of going
yeah.
back to what I said something earlier on about like this does
Yeah.
seem like it's not atonal, but it seems like it's less structured than the previous one. And I imagine that the one after that is going to maybe have even less of that if you continue in this sort of experimental vein.
Yeah, probably. Like I feel like all music is kind of experimental. Like every time you try to make a song, it's an experiment. Like, can I win this little argument with the universe and make this
Yeah,
like little thing that like, that works in some sort of way that you feel something, right? So like yeah, I don't really see a big difference between this album and the last album and Ripping Hammer 1, which only people from St. James have on C. Wait, you're in St. James.
I'm in
I
St.
should
James
get
now.
you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, okay,
yeah.
yeah, that's right. Okay. Sorry, I'm not done to mean to like dox you here or anything, but
Sorry, I've talked
yeah,
about it
like
before. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, okay, all right. Yeah. So like, yeah. What was I saying? I got lost on St. James there. Oh, saying yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I feel like I'm not so worried about like the formal aspect of it. It all kind of sounds the same to me because it's like coming from me and like I'm
Yeah,
the worst sort of objective judge of myself. Like, you know what I mean?
I do know what you
It
mean. Yeah,
almost, yeah, it almost takes somebody else outside of you to listen and say, no, it's actually like that, or no, it's actually like this. And you're like, oh, really? Okay, sure. I thought it was just like doing my thing. So like to me, this one doesn't sound a lot different than the last one. Other than that, there's less guitars. I feel like this one's like oh God, if I had to like put a label on it, I would say this one's even more melodic in some ways. Maybe the melodies are just not as good. So you don't notice them as much, or maybe they're just different.
I don't know.
But
Yeah, that's
yeah.
because that's the complete opposite impression I got.
Oh,
I
sorry,
feel
you're
felt like there were. I mean, I like both of them a lot, but I felt like there were more hooks on the first one maybe, and it was more sort of talking about choruses again. It seemed more chorus driven, where this seems more sort of I don't know, sound more based on sound than based on songness, whatever you want to call it.
Oof, you know what? My sound cut out during that full question. So it was a long question, and you were like talking with your hand too. So like it
I
was
talk with
probably
my
like,
hands all the time though, so it's really
oh, I love it. Me too. Yeah, that's why I got the microphone because I'm like, what am I going to do with my hands?
I have one here, and if I touch the
Yeah.
mic, you can't see it; it's off camera. If I touch it, it's going to make a bunch of horrible noises. So I try to
Okay.
like flail around away from it. But yeah, yeah. No, I guess the question was
Yeah.
with that previous album, it seemed to me
Yeah.
to be more hook focused. The songs were more, I don't know if catchy is the right word, but it was more seemed more chorus heavy, whereas this one seems
Yeah.
more just based around like raw sound, if that is
Hell
accurate.
yeah. Hell yeah. 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 Okay. That sounds good.
It's not really a question; it's an observation, I guess. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I love catchy music. Pop music is fuck. Pop music is like the ideal to me. Like you
Yeah.
can like I love pop music. but the idea of just like having like raw sound and challenging the listener, that's fun too. Like, so yeah.
Well, with all that in mind, what has the reaction been to this album? Like, I mean, I'm assuming I'm not the only person who you've given a tape to since it's been released. So, what kind of feedback have you been getting on it?
Um, like people say, like I I don't like it. It's like hard to tell. People seem like kind of excited that I'm doing it,
Yeah,
and like people seem like kind of exciting that oh wow, like you're still making music or something. That's kind of good. So I think like the fact that it exists like seems to be like a little bit of a miracle in a way, which is nice. Um, as far as like do people like it or not, I don't know, because like sometimes people can like I have something called like responsible hater energy, which means like if I don't like something, I'm not going to pretend that I like it.
yeah.
So I do genuinely enjoy the Mouth Boat.
Well, I'm glad. Thank
But
you.
yeah, but I not everybody has that, because again, they're not, they don't have a Scorpio rising sign or whatever. Like some people will just be polite or whatever. So and it's hard to tell, So like the feedback has kind of been like, hey, that's like sick that you made this. Like that's awesome. Like you're still making music. Are you gonna make another one? Like that kind of stuff. So yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
and like it's mostly like friends and like people that I know from like the past 20 years and stuff too. So it's like, yeah, yeah. It's just like
That
kind of
makes sense.
very supportive and warm, and like yeah, that kind of stuff. So
Well, that's
yeah,
good. That's kind of what you want, right? You want people to at least appreciate it in some way, whether they, hopefully, they're not just telling you they like it, but I
yeah,
mean, I think most people are fairly honest when it comes to. I mean, I've had people tell me how much they didn't like my bands over the years, and some people who've loved it. So yeah, I think that people are a little more honest
yeah,
with independent music, with original DIY stuff, to a point, and then some people will be polite to try to make you feel good or whatever.
yeah. And at the end of the day, haters are fans too.
That's right. They listened to it. They took
Haters
the
are
time to
fans
listen to
too.
whatever it is you did, right? So
So I'll take them. Like
yeah,
whatever. Listen to it and hate it. That's great too. Like honestly, I kind of made it for myself. So
yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, but people have been supportive and somewhat bewildered, like too, which is good. You
Yeah,
know.
that is good. That's a,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's a reaction. It's a reaction. It's an honest reaction to it. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm assuming a lot of people listening to this, unless they heard that other episode we did more than a decade ago, they're
Yeah.
hearing about Ripping Hammer for the first time. Um,
Oh yeah.
where would you where would you send someone to start? Like, I mean, I know these two albums are available online at least, and then you have the physical of this current one. Is this a good starting point? This most recent one, or would you send them back to the previous Ripping Hammer, or what's the sort of the entry point to your stuff?
I would I would walk around the streets of Wolseley / West Broadway / the West End.
Yep.
Try to run into me. I make myself known. I will probably have a tape on me, depending on how much I like you. Like you'll either get it for free or we'll barter for something, or I might even charge you money. But again, I didn't do this to make money. I did this to heal the world. And then start with the tape. I would prefer that you listen to it on cassette,
Yeah.
because that's the way God intended, just like distorted out of a boombox. But if you can't do that, listen on the internet, but listen to something. Well, I don't know. Listen however you want. I'm not going to be like dictatorial about that, but
Yeah.
like I would start with this, because like this is now, and like yeah, if you want to go back in the past, I do have a Bandcamp with the last record on it. I might even put the first one on there if I go into like a manic upswing or something one day and be like, hell yeah, it's all great. People need to hear this or whatever. Like and put that on there. But yeah, not anytime soon. So I'd say find me, get a tape, start there.
Is
Start
there
your ripping
somewhere?
hammer journey there.
Is there a way to get the tape aside from wandering around Wolseley, West Broadway, and hoping to run into you?
Uh like yeah, you can order one on the internet too, but that's gonna cost you money.
Yeah.
If you don't have any money, just like message me and I'll like give it to you. So like, but yeah, you can go onto my Bandcamp. You can like find me on the internet. I am also a teacher in the public education system. So I have a lot of students who like always like try to like, on the first day of school or whatever, second day of school, like try to Google me and find like what I've been doing, or like, is this guy like for real or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, like they'll probably go on to the website and find stuff. So I
That's
would
happened.
prefer,
That's happened
yeah,
with Witchpolice stuff. I've had comments on back when Witchpolice was a
yeah,
blog, and when you appeared
yeah.
on the podcast, people commenting like, "Oh, hey, this is my teacher. This is cool," like kind of thing, which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I would prefer future students who have Googled this and are listening to this in the future right now. I would prefer you listen to the cassette, but it's not an assignment or anything. Do what you want. Be yourself
Awesome.
and listen to your parents.
Yeah, do that too, for sure. For sure.